I don't like small signs.
We're gonna have to step it up a little bit.
What are the flights?
Okay, the next agenda item, basically what we're going to do is we're going to do the first informational agenda item, and then we're going to move to agenda items 20, 21, and 22. And hopefully we can get there, and then we'll see where we are with respect to the rest of the information items. Reports informational, 19A, application 2011 draw report, non-Sefton system consultants. System consultants will present an interim annual report for the 2011 big game draw. Information is presented in tables and charts and includes interim application, license tag fees and counts, as well as bonus points and client statistics for 5 draws already completed this year. And in your support materials, you have the report that system consultants puts together. It's always very informational. So, John, go ahead.
Excuse me, Don Sefton from System Consultants. In the interest of time and the remaining items you have, I'm going to suggest I have a couple of errata to report about this report. And also, I think the Silver State is the main new item. And I'm going to just suggest I cover only those items, maybe take only 5 minutes. And hope that you guys have had a chance to look through the book, or if not, that you'll look through it afterwards. And if you do have questions, you can ask me.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
I'm going to go ahead and page down to the Silver State items. It'll be 17, I believe.
Yes.
First of all, we prepared a slide for this year and showed the counts of applications and number of clients as a percentage of total clients who opted into the program, and then the applicants who were actually able to apply even though they were ineligible for that hunt. Normally, this hunt behaves a little bit different than the PIW, and with the PIW you have to be eligible for the underlying hunt. This one you don't have to. During the course of the draw, I had provided other more complete statistics of this, and Chairman Macbeth asked me a question the other day about total numbers, and so I apologize for this slide. This is an errata here, and I'm going to flip to the next slide and show you basically the same information a little more completely in terms of money. And what you see here is that basically we had 14,000 applications, and I'd sum it up as saying that about 40% of those were for elk, about 40% for deer, and about 20% for antelope. And in terms of the total application fees at 20 bucks a piece, 14,000 obviously comes out to around $280,000. There was also a predator fee collected at the same time of an additional $42,000. And finally, the elk hunt itself picks up the depredation fee of $5, and so there was an additional $29,000 picked up there. The bottom line for all of that is $351,000 was collected by this program this year, in addition to what's normally collected. We had 3,200 of the clients who applied for only one of those three species, and 2,300 that applied for two, and 2,000 that applied for three. So quite a fair number of people who opted in on a couple of the programs. The next thing I'm going to skip down to is another errata in the document. This is one we missed. I believe it's page 47. Let me just double check here quickly. Yeah, it's page 48, excuse me, resident bonus points. And if you'll look in your books, I'd like to ask that you make a correction for any of you on the Wildlife Advisory Boards or Commission who have copies of the printout. We had it a line off. If you look on your book, it shows resident antlerless elk has 26 people with 20 points, and obviously that's not the case. It's been corrected on this slide here that 26 should be up on the line of resident antlered elk. So it was just a typo as we split the table and moved it over to a second page. And finally, what I'm going to do is direct your attention to the part of the presentation that I like the least, but I figured even though I'm abbreviating this, I shouldn't get out of it. So, and that's page 61. These are the problems that we had during the course of the draw. And I know these came up at the Washoe County Board meeting. Actually, there was one other slide that came up at the Washoe County Board meeting. I'm going to cover that as well. That was on the bear applicants. We presented a history of a sportsman applying for bear, and there was a question about this slide, and we probably should have annotated it better. What we did was we were asked, what does the profile of someone applying for bear look like? Are these people who are new to the system? Are they people who've been involved for a long time? And we have a record of licensed sales that goes back to 2007, but we have a record of applications that goes back to 1992, actually to about 1990, and then for people who actually drew tags earlier than that for species that affect eligibility, like goat, etc. We have some tag records, not application records, that go back even earlier. So we had one applicant who had been on file since '78, drew a goat tag back there. But if you look through here, you'll see there's quite a number of the 1,500 or so bear applicants who have applied for quite a number of years. And probably the high water mark in there is in the 50s. I think we had one that was 66 applicants that had 2 years of applications. So the bottom line is the overwhelming majority of the bear applicants have been here before, been with us for a while. We had only, of all those 1,500 or so applicants, we only had 27 who had no previous history with us in the application hunt system. 8 of those had other license history in the Nevada Wildlife Data System. They may have bought a fishing license, they may have been an upland game hunter or something that they had come across. We had to come across them in the application hunt system. But 19 of those were new to both the application hunt system and NWDS. So again, the bottom line takeaway from that is about 1% of the applicants were new to the process. The rest of them were people we'd seen before. Okay, now to page 62. We had some problems with a couple of clients in the group turkey applications. We had some big game penalty letters where we sent them out erroneously. We had some paper applications that were not keyed for the guided draw, and they had to be considered after the draw. We had some clients early on that were not correctly charged for their license. We had, on the very first day, in the first hour or two, we had a funny situation where a couple of people were not charged for the Silver State elk applications. We had some folks who were rejected for revocations, but we didn't generate the error letter for them. These are folks who were revoked either in-state or out-of-state through the Interstate Wildlife Violators Compact System. We printed some tags, mountain lion tags with the non-resident code. They were charged correctly, but just the code itself appeared on the tag incorrectly. And we had a problem in the last day or two between the web application itself and NWDS, where we store licensed sales on the fly as they're occurring. And we figured out what was causing it and fixed it, but we had some folks who actually completed their application, but the system didn't give them a confirmation. And they saw an error on the screen as if they hadn't finished, but when they went back in, they actually had a completed application. We had an antelope tag that was mailed and should not have been to somebody with a declined credit card. If we look through these in more detail, the clients who submitted the applications in the spring, they were submitting, they used the back button, which is the bane of all programmers. We hate it. We'd like to take it off of an internet browser, but unfortunately it allows a world of sins, and we try and program to defend against it, but we don't always get all of the hooks in place. Anyway, we had some folks that submitted a group application, but only got charged for one. And there was 2 clients, and we missed it in our testing. We contacted the clients, and they were able to submit the additional fees. And we've updated our QA scripts to test this, and the programming's been corrected as well. We had some spring tag holders, turkey tag holders that got a second penalty letter. They'd received a penalty letter for their spring turkey harvest report, and they got a second letter when the big game tag holders received their penalty letters. And there was about 50 of them, and we contacted those clients, and the programming was corrected. We had 5 paper applications that were received for the guided draw and not keyed. What basically happened was they were sitting on somebody's desk to be keyed, and someone came by and picked them up off the desk. And we did enter these post-draw and reevaluated to see whether they would have drawn or not. We've changed our procedures as to how we handle this to prevent it from happening in the future. We had some clients not correctly charged for their license. If they made one selection for a license, let's say a hunting license, and then came back and changed their mind before they finished and changed to a hunt-fish combo or vice versa, we were not correctly charging them for the license. There was 35 of them, programming problem. We corrected it. We contacted the clients and collected the fees, and we updated our QA scripts, and again, the programming was corrected for the long term. We had some folks on the very first day, in the first few hours, that didn't get charged the Silver State predator fee, and it happened right at the very beginning. There was 8 clients involved out of those 5,000 that ended up processing, and we had some predator information that we didn't move from our test environment where we test everything to the production environment, and we contacted those clients, collected the fees, and we've updated our QA scripts and corrected the data. We had some folks that were rejected for revocations, and they didn't get an error letter. This was a case where we had some revocations that hadn't been ratified yet. Each state can submit revocations to the Wildlife Violators Compact. It's then the responsibility of the state that wants to use those revocations to ratify them, because they may see the revocation differently. As an example, some states, if you ever used 2 poles in the water, it's grounds for revocation. In Nevada, since they sell a stamp for it, it's not a revocable offense. So they actually have to review the revocations in other states and decide. Others, and also we see states where one state will do a lifetime revocation and another state will amend it to 5 years or 10 years because they don't have indeterminate sentencing allowed in that state. So, anyway, these had not been ratified. We had 3 clients, and, 15 applications. We fixed the programming on it, and we now correctly generate these error records. Like I mentioned before, we had case where we printed some mountain lion tags of those 2,000 or so that we print. We had several hundred, about 400. They got printed with the wrong code on them. They were charged right. Everything was fine. We contacted LE. They said they could live with it since they knew what it was. With these folks, if they were in the field with the tag. Programming error, and we have corrected it. We notified NDOW of the error on the tags. And long-term solution is the programming's been corrected. We had some problems in the last couple of days, as I mentioned, with updating the license sale that occurred through the application process if you bought a concurrent license to NWDS. And this turned out to be some indexing that we could do on listed here as a programming error, but it really had to do with indexing that we could do on the database to speed it up so that we wouldn't have the slowness issue in NWDS. We had about 600 clients affected. They, again, their application completed, they just didn't get the notification on the screen. They didn't get their email. So we had a lot of folks called us and asked us, can you send me a confirmation so I really know that my application got in? And we were able to take care of that. We had an Antelope client who had a credit card that was declined. It was only one procedural error. We retrieved that tag. I said before we collected the money, but in fact we retrieved the tag and we fixed our procedures. And that's it on the errors. At this point, I'm going to just ask if there's any questions and turn it over to the next item on the agenda. And again, in the past, I've gone through this in a lot more detail, but you have the report for a couple of weeks, and in the interest of time, it seemed the appropriate solution. Any questions?
I guess the first is that would it be too much to ask for you to come back in December? Were you planning on being here anyway, and maybe could do a more complete?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. If your schedule permits that, mine will too.
Vice Chairman Rob.
I have no comments. I'll wait till December.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else have any comments with respect to this? Okay. And I'll reserve my comment that I was going to make in addition to this. I'll just wait until December. Okay.
I'll be dying of suspense for 3 months.
You already know. Okay. I think at this point we need to verify flights. I want to make a change in the agenda order and jump to agenda item number 20, do 20, 21, and hopefully 22, and then come back to these other informational items if we have time, and if not, move those to December. So, do you have any motion to do that?
We need a motion with 2/3 votes.
Motion and 2/3 vote. Okay.
It's my understanding is anytime you modify anything on the agenda, it has to be, it's on agenda, you have to have 2/3 vote. It's in there. believe the correct motion would be to suspend the rules and make it easier to look up.
Are you talking about Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah.
Suspend the rules?
And look up suspend the rules. Requires a second, no debate, no amendment, two-thirds vote. I've done that many times.
We're going to take a real quick recess, and let's say 5 minutes. We're going to look at this issue, and then we'll be right back.